Okay, welcome to the automation dreaming, and yeah, it's really excited to be part of this amazing event. And before start, I think we would like to thank all the organizers, and also the speakers who made it possible to host such a great event. So this is really something. So yeah, today we are excited to say more about automation of background process with Omnistudio.
Yeah. So I guess I will go to the next slide. Thank you once again. Thank you very much for having us. So, Samith, I guess we'll
Yeah,
start with you. Present yourself.
yes. Let me just give you a quick introduction, like who we are. So yeah, I'm Samith Perera, and yeah, I work as a solution architect at Capgemini, and yes, I have few certifications, and yeah, as mentioned, my expertise lies in automotive and manufacturing, also energy and utility domain. Kirill?
Yeah. Well, I am Kirill Skorobogatov. Uh, I'm a Salesforce technical analyst and developer at Capgemini, Salesforce industry Velocity expert, passionate trailblazer. I have a background in web development and mobile solutions development, iOS, Android development. So quite a technical guy, just like Samit. Um, yeah. So that we're gonna be the speakers today,
Yep.
and I guess I'll go to the next slide. So Samit
Yes.
will tell us about the agenda that
Yeah.
we have for the
So
presenters.
yeah. Okay. So there are maybe six section materials that we are going to share with you today. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of background of on escalating customer digital expectations, and why it's complicated to handle the need, and also like why we need Omni Studio and its key features or key components, and quick live example of how OmniScript works. And yeah, we'll spend a little bit of time talking about the similarities and the differences between OmniScript and Salesforce Flow, and how Omni Studio components are moving into Salesforce scope. Yeah. So next slide.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we know, the speed of the change is happening way faster than ever before in history, and businesses are trying way harder to keep up with the latest trends and digital upstarts. So I would say it's driven by three main factors. There are many, but there is main three factors. So the first one is yeah, the customer expectations, because as customers we do have a lot of expectations, right? um, we demand new digital way of accessing products and services, and we can see how compared to 10 years ago, we do a lot of things online using our phones now. For example, we can use phone's QR code as a boarding pass, and check our flight status, and check in online, and we may place takeout orders from anywhere at any time, and we can request a taxi without specifying the location, because taxi driver knows where I am now, right? So after using these kind of like digital interfaces, consumers begin to demand the same level of ease from all of their other services providers too. So what I'm saying is, like, if Starbucks can have my chocolate cappuccino waiting for me when I press few buttons on my phone, and if I can watch my favorite Netflix movie by 4K Dolby Vision, why do I still need to go to a DVD store for me, like which requires traveling there 10 to 15 minutes? Does it make sense? So the second one is I want to highlight is the technical challenges. And the truth is, like, it's challenging to do this in reality for many of the large companies. So some of the business in the example that I showed you have achieved the success, give the impression that it's simple, but it's not. because there are numerous complex jobs and usability challenges. You know, like making a iced coffee is far simpler than setting up the telecom switch. And also you observe this in the other fields when they are saving B2C. So, for example, in a local energy utility company has raised the cost of gas and electricity recently. So everyone is logging on and trying to figure out what that means for them. And support services are full with the query. So if your system wasn't designed for this B2C case handling, then that's an issue. And another example that I could give you is uh, uh, a pay-per-view scenario. So just before major football match or a baseball match, you will notice massive increase in volume. People will sign up for this pay-per-view, and if the cable operator can't handle this massive volume in increase, the revenue will be lost. And last but not least, disconnected legacy systems. Of course, all of these large business have outdated legacy systems, and it's reality that you have to deal with them. So driven by this dramatic change in the customer experience and also the other reasons, businesses are really struggling to deploy scalable automated digital solutions to meet the demand. So I think the Salesforce created a solution with the Salesforce Industries to address these issues and assist our clients in achieving their goals. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. Next
Yeah.
slide. Yeah.
Well, briefly in depth about Salesforce Industries. As you might be very well aware already, it's X Velocity. So before the company was called Velocity, and it was a package that you could install on the marketplace. And then Salesforce acquired it for quite a sum in the recent years. And Velocity, or Salesforce Industries, the modern way to say it now, uh, consists of several packages dealing with almost any sector in the business that put be put digital in today's world. Uh, Dealing ranging from financial services, healthcare, consumer goods, automotive, media, manufacturing, energy and utilities, philanthropy, sustainability. So Salesforce Industries is a specific package that is really providing you a preset of a specific data model and a preset of scripts that you could already use for daily use for the user uh, to use. And as an example of a data model that is specifically configured for the insurance industry, you have on the right over here this particular example of a model. It's just an example of a preset that could be there. Uh, yeah, and the data model could change for any industry, and you have a wide range of objects that could be put in place. So I will move on further next with what actually is Omnistudio, because that's actually the title of the presentation. So Omnistudio is part of Salesforce Industries. It's a low code interaction builder that provides you the tools to interact with the end user. Uh, First of all, you interact, you build dynamic interactions with almost, in a very low code environment, and with maximum knowledge, with minimal knowledge of JSON. These are pretty much flows that are interactive. They are they guide user through a particular experience in a customized scenario, uh, built fully declaratively. Uh, you are able to streamline the interaction between agents and customers with automation that happens in the background behind these flows. Um, the way you build it is some usually drag and drop, and some a little bit of typing, of course, involved. Um, yeah, you have a continuous deployment. It's a very simple, streamlined process as well to deploy these flows. So not only it's easy to develop, it's easy later on to deploy. Um, I'll show you maybe later in an example of how I exported a particular flow in a single JSON file and imported it into another sandbox instance. Um, maybe that's in a later scenario, but we'll have to see about that still.
Yeah.
Uh, the OmniScript flows are also able to they embed rich texts. They embed almost anything. You can visually you are free to explore as much as possible and as crazy as it can get. Uh, uh, on the back end side, just as well, you are able to uh, use these uh, interactions to call. You can call Apex code. You can do a remote API call. You can do almost anything as well. So now I will move on to the next slide. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think here you can also tell us about something,
Yep.
Samith.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure like everybody has seen like many versions of this within the Salesforce text because this highlights the many of the key components that makes up the Omnistudio. So I will start from the OmniScripts, like Kirill already explained. It's a guided path to complete the business process. This is really a UI front-end piece of it, somewhat similar to Salesforce Flow, but little bit more advanced in some aspects. And then yeah, we have got cards, flex cards, which are really of core building blocks of Omnistudio. So these are customer-centric and employee-centric UI components you can expose in various places, and they are extremely configurable, and they basically give you way to summarize information from virtually any source. So then we have yeah, data raptors. This is for extracting data from Salesforce to Salesforce, or transforming data from payloads to another, I guess. And yeah, then we have these integration procedures. You can think this as a declarative version of Apex, basically a way to declaratively build a business logic. So if you are pulling data from different systems, or you call multiple different Apex classes, and combine the logic in those classes with the user inputs, integration procedure is the one to use. And then from the right hand side, we have the interaction console. So this is how we take these UI components that we built over here and expose them to our users. And we have Omni Analytics. So this is how you can do performance analytics based on the Omni scripts and flex cards, the different tools that we saw on the left hand side. And yeah, finally we have the IDX workbench. This is how we deploy different things that we have on the left, namely OmniScripts, FlexCard, integration procedures, and the data raptors, either to our source repository or from our source repository to a sandbox or production. And then we have Project Explorer, is the way of collecting series of metadata components and then deploy them with the IDX workbench. So that's all about OmniStudio tools in short. Maybe Kirill, if you want to add something.
Yeah, IDX Workbench, for example, for me, it's one of the most
Mm,
seamless ways to deploy and retrieve
yeah.
velocity components. It's another way than what I described previously in the previous slide as having a JSON file into a JSON file. About integration procedures and data raptors, what I could say about that is architecturally, you can think of it as a logic layer and a repository layer. If you're thinking in code, where you have a, let's say, you have a logic where you need to retrieve a particular set of records, then that's the way to visualize it. You have an integration procedure calling a data raptor to retrieve or upload records, create new ones.
Yep.
As for anything, yeah, the Velocity IDX workbench can also be the deployment of Velocity components can also be extended to command line tools. Very flexible in that. I guess I should move on to the next slide, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So specifically for this um, event, Automation Dreamin, we came up with a sample use case. Probably not the most realistic scenario, but we decided to at least come up with something to demonstrate where Omnistudio could be applied. So I'll briefly read the the use case, the case scenario. Yeah, we fix it. Limited is operating a European-wide network chain of electronic device repair shops, specifically focusing on cell phone and laptop repairs. The fastest way to process an order or an incoming request in the background happens to be Salesforce, with customers either interacting through the website, so website APIs to Salesforce, or directly with the call centers. So our We Fix It Limited is seeking to streamline device repair requests for maximum efficiency. And how would they do that? Well, in our particular case, Salesforce Industries has a package for them. Um, Now that we are a little bit familiar with the case, I will show you how an OmniScript works. So we have to remember two things. A customer wants to repair his or her device. Um, yeah, either they will call the repair shop or they will interact in the website. So imagine you have a call center or a simple or a person who answers the phone in the shop. Usually for a European wide chain, it would be a call center, and you have the website where the user can interact with the can set up interact with the flow themselves. So I will show you what an OmniScript looks like for the user. Here we have a little video. I will just play it for you. So here you see we've built a tiny UI in the Salesforce org where we have a flow and our user is so this we're going to take in the context of a call center. A call center receives a call. Um, the person will receive the person will communicate the information of what particular device they're looking to repair. In our case, we're looking only at the happy flow. In this case, you have a choice of a laptop over smartphone. As you see, we're choosing a smartphone. Next, our step we see if it's which smartphone we're choosing. So selecting the smartphone type, and we select a particular iPhone, selecting an issue, and then something magical happens in the background. We click next, and immediately our OmniScript comes up with a simulation of a price. Now, for this the most simple scenario ever, we have only inputted two variables. We have the model type and we have the issue of this particular device. So what we did was we went to this, I will come back to the presentation. What actually happened in the background is the following. We had a set of steps occurring where the user selected a particular, either they selected their repair type, they selected the phone type, they selected the type of the repair that they need. But in the background, what happened is we had an integration procedure. So think if you're thinking in code, we had an Apex method that was called with two parameters, the phone type and the issue type. Now this integration procedure, look at it as our gateway to everything, to the whole simulation, did even more complex things. It went it took these two variables and it immediately called a calculation procedure, which called a calculation matrix. Omnistudio calculation matrix is almost like a sort of a reference base, a data storage type that holds variables and is ready to respond to you with multiple output variables if needed. In this case, in our particular scenario, in our calculation matrix, we only inputted the two variables. So what happened after is the calculation procedure responded back to the integration procedure, and the integration procedure sent the request, sent the reply back to the response, sent the response back to the OmniScript, and the OmniScript visualized the response. Now, we've built obviously the most basic scenario, which we've built honestly in about 10 minutes. But what we're talking about here is that the automation can take records in bulk, perform serious tasks, and also you are able to almost do anything here as do API calls to external data services, retrieve records, post records. You are able to perform complex calculations of hundreds of records at the same time. You are able to perform yeah, all sorts of data manipulations, and the possibilities here are limitless with just Omnistudio. Uh, through this little demo that I've just shown,
Yeah.
I will then go over back to you, Samith.
Yes. So yeah. So having said that, let's just try to compare OmniScript with the Salesforce screen flows, because the OmniScript is basically a UI first designer, whereas the flow are much more of the process designer. So they definitely have some significant similarities, like they both read and write data to Salesforce. They both have branching logics, and they both engage in guided interactions, and they both can call Apex and custom LWCs. Also, you can embed them in a third-party web pages, and they both have debuggers. So I assume that the features of OmniScripts are useful in various of scenarios, but they are extremely valuable in the context where customer or partners are involved, because they both support branding, because they offer responsive single page experience, and because they take steps to interact with the other web analytics systems like Google Analytics as a built-in feature. Another interesting element of OmniScript is that they are utilizing integration procedures and the data raptors capabilities. In OmniScripts, they can consume data from external APIs without any code. But with the screen flows, they retrieve the data from external sources. You may normally need to go to Apex and add a code. So maybe in the future, screen flows will provide more ways that you can do things without code. But the time being, this I would say another important difference between the two. And yeah, screen flows do have other features. Uh, which are worth calling out. I think depending on the user's case. So where you are reading and writing to Salesforce, I think screen flows are the really easy to use, and they are great in solving a particular problem. But if you, let's say, like if you get into a case where you are having to any kind of data transformations, I think OmniScripts are the most suitable one, because with the screen flow, then you have to start writing a code, or maybe you need to go to some custom lightning web components, and it can be really very unhappy shortly in those situations. So as I said, like it's really depend on the case. And screen flows to have nice looping and branching capabilities. In the OmniScript, we do have branching, and we do have ways of doing looping, but I think you find more graphic support for this inside of the screen flow. And they have got a library of third-party components, which in some case, could be super useful. So yeah, that's a short description of the similarities and the differences between OmniScripts and ScreenFlow. Moving to next slide.
Yep.
So you know after this Salesforce acquisition with the Velocity, there are a few things happening behind the screen. Like some of the Omnistudio capabilities are moving from the package into the core. It will just happen, under the covers, because like there are few advantages. Like the primary objective is to make it possible for more people to benefit from the OmniStudio, and the other goal is like really to take the advantage of some of the things that we can do inside the Salesforce core that you can't do it in Apex. Like when you are inside Salesforce core, your code is Java, not Apex. And Java runs a lot faster for some of the critical process. So we get significant performance and scalability increase by moving some of the engines into the core. And we are not subject to govern limits that the Apex has. But doesn't mean that we won't have any govern limits. There will be some, but there won't be Apex govern limits. So they will have probably some threshold limits, but they will fundamentally perform a lot better inside the core. And also, like this will not just happen right away. Um, it will, take a couple of releases, but it is something that the Salesforce have in their roadmap. Okay, so I think that's the end of the slides. So
Yeah.
yeah,
In-
yeah, maybe
Indeed.
so
Well,
if you have any questions or clarifications, yeah, please write to us or
yeah.
connect with
So
us via LinkedIn. Yeah,
I hope our brief introduction to Salesforce Industries Omni Studio was sparked some interest
yeah,
in our audience. Uh, I hope that we are able to go further with this and maybe do a more deep dive session if anyone is interested, of course. Um, yeah, our LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn using the links on the right. Uh, Feel free to reach out to us via email. We always like to read some uh, new emails. And yeah, so
yeah.
once again, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you
Indeed,
for
thank
listening.
you. Indeed, thank you all. Like
Yeah,
Kirill said, connect with us. Like always, happy to help.
yeah,
Thank you again, and